Okay, this is my Alex wheelchair, and I want to tell you another serious design flaw with this chair. This chair is designed so that you could be facing either way. So for me, they had to put it this way so that the casters are in front of me. When I got this chair, this seat was way back there. It was way back about 4 feet, 4 inches, 5 inches. And my head was being past the back wheels. And what happened with this chair is I went out when I first got it, and I went across the street. And because my weight was so far back in the chair, and I did tell them when they gave me the chair that the seat needs to be moved forward, and they said, "Well, it can't be because there's no way to do it. There's no holes, there's no adjustments, there's no way at all possible to move it forward." So the front of the seat used to be right about here, And so I'm going to tell you what happened to me. I was going across the street, and because the chair is powerful and moves pretty fast, and I was sitting so far back in the chair, the front wheels came right off the ground, and the chair was doing a wheelie across the whole street. It almost killed me, and it was riding on those little tiny rollers right there. And it scared the hell out of me, and people were staring, and they couldn't figure out how the hell did my chair tip back so far. And that had me really scared, and I didn't know what the heck happened. I thought maybe it's because I'm not used to the chair or whatever. So I let it go for that day. I went out another day, and I was going up onto a sidewalk, so the front of the chair was going up. I was going very slow, and I gave it a little bit of power. The front wheels went right up in the air again, but this time the casters went down into the gutter, into the trench along the edge. So I was practically on my back. And if I hadn't turned my chair sideways really quickly and not panicked, and anyway, I had to turn the chair with the wheels way up off the ground, turn the chair around, and go back onto the street at full speed. Even if there was a car coming, I would have got killed. And the front of the chair, when the chair's tipping back, it won't come back down. It wouldn't come back down to the ground because my weight was too far back. So it stayed in that position. So when I turned the chair around, I went off the curb, and I made my chair bang into the ground really hard, which brought my front end back down. And it was really scary. And when I talked to the guy that sold me this chair, and Mark Burley, the occupational therapist, and I told him what was going on with this chair, they didn't care. They said, "Oh, nothing can be done, the seat can't be moved forward." And I said, enough of that. I was a mechanic, and I still got some basic tools, and it took me like a whole day to do this. And I looked underneath it, I bolted some stuff, and I changed some brackets around. Then you can't see it behind my InfoWars sign here, but there's a metal thing right here that goes across. And underneath that sign, they had a bolt there. And the bolt, there should have been many holes along that channel, so you could put the bolt in a different place, but there was no other holes. So what I did is I moved the seat up on top. I moved it forward by changing the brackets. And then I went underneath, and I unbolted everything. I pulled the seat forward, but it couldn't bolt it back in, so I took my drill out, and I drilled some holes through the steel where there should have been holes, and I was able to move my chair forward. And if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be able to drive that chair at all. But remember, now what I'm describing to you is exactly how they're selling the chair and giving it to people. So they're endangering a lot of people's lives. I don't know how many people have gone out in these chairs and they flip backwards and killed them, because it's what it'll do. This chair is so heavy. If you flip backwards, it's going to crush you. And, this is the kind of town that I live in, and the occupational therapist, who's a specialist in wheelchairs, didn't care. Nobody cared. And then they got mad at me because I drilled a hole in the frame. They're saying, "Oh, it's going to void the warranty." And I told them, I said, "You weren't going to fix the chair, and I needed my chair. Without a chair, I don't have a life. I mean, I live on my own, and if I can't get out to get my groceries and do things, I'm in trouble." And as you know from my other videos, I can't travel on public transit. I can't go anywhere, and I can't walk. I have a walker, but I don't walk. I haven't walked outdoors in, 2.5, 3 years. I was run over by a car, and my body's all busted, and I'm really in a lot of trouble when it comes to my health. So now I just pointed out to you another really serious design flaw in this chair. And again, the government doesn't care. Now, when they had the seat way back, okay, when they had the seat way back on this chair where they claim it was supposed to be, if you look at the pedals right here, okay, if you look at the foot pedals, you see that piece of steel right there that goes down, and there's the mechanism. Now, look at the size of those casters. When the seat was way back, I had to keep these foot pedals like this. Way up like that. And the reason why they had to be up is because there was no clearance for the casters when they were turning and they would hit the pedals. But what that does, it makes the chair really, really uncomfortable to sit in because you've got all your weight on your knees. And not only that, it made the chair too long and I couldn't fit in the elevators, I couldn't go anywhere. And I kept telling them, you've got to be able to move this seat forward so the pedals can go down. But they wouldn't do it. So I fixed it myself. But what I'm trying to tell you is that, you know what, I'm not the only smart person in the world. I do know how to engineer things and fix things and build things. I have a lot of experience in life. But the problem is in this town, because we have no regulations, no rules, no nothing, and nobody cares, they don't listen to me. They just don't care. And it's a living nightmare to be intelligent and trying to live in a society full of criminals in the government, criminals everywhere, that man, like, whatever happened to people's human rights? Whatever happened to decency? Whatever happened to truth? Nova Scotia should be ashamed of themselves. All the government people and everybody that's involved in the business of wheelchairs are all a bunch of criminals. They really are, because they're deliberately endangering people's lives, knowingly doing it, and they don't care. It's time for a change. It's time for rules and regulations and licensing and permits, and the same laws that apply to cars need to be applied to wheelchairs. So when there's a flaw with a wheelchair, there's a means and a system in place to rectify the problem. So again, thank you for listening. So now you know, okay, and I mean, my other wheelchair I had before was a nightmare, and I thought this would be better. And this one is even more dangerous than my other wheelchair. It may look real fancy. It does ride nice and smooth when it's going in a straight line, but the chair has too many dangerous problems. I can't really safely use this chair at all. And they can't fix it. Oh yeah, and when that caster there is rattling like crazy, they told me, oh, the bearings are gone in it. I said, what are you talking about? I had driven the chair for 2 hours. It was brand new. I went outside, and it was fluttering all over the place. And we get a... I said, it's not a caster problem. It's an engineering problem. The chair is not designed properly. You know, the problem is that I'm a lot smarter than the guys I'm dealing with, and they don't care. You know, and they want to try to make me look stupid. They never expected me to put websites together and put all this information out there and have it all documented so that I have a trail of proof of all the criminality and incompetence and everything else going on. I'm in court right now, and I'm starting a human rights trial, and hopefully this is going to get remedied and people are going to stop disrespecting me so I can just live my life like everybody else and expect the government to do their job and look out for my rights like they do for everybody else. But that won't happen unless you, the people watching this, get involved. You need to make phone calls and say, what's going on? You know, what's this? Is this stuff all true, this guy's saying? You don't have any regulations, no rules, no licensings, no permits, no inspections, no qualifications, no certification. I mean, you have a completely unregulated free-for-all in business of crime. And the taxpayers are paying for it all because the average wheelchair is, like cost the taxpayers like $20,000 a year minimum. You know, the maintenance costs on this thing are ridiculous. What they charge for, they charge you like up to $100 an hour, and they have people working for minimum wage that have no clue what they're doing. And the guy who's doing the repairs doesn't care because the more often he returns the chair in, the more money they make. Oh, and then they put used parts on, and then they get all these brand new parts for free from the manufacturers that are under warranty, and they charge the government for full prices for brand new parts when they didn't even have to pay for them. And the government doesn't care because there's no accountability. And I talked to the Auditor General of Nova Scotia, and I said, how can you allow this to happen? To have all these hundreds of millions of dollars being stolen from the taxpayers because of all this unregulated business. And the government said, well, nothing we can do about it. Because the Nova Scotia government, because we have a public health care system, everything's paid for through the government, which goes through community services. And community services has a front cover that they use called Easter seals. So all the repairs, all the maintenance, all the purchases, everything goes through Easter seals so that the people in the government cannot be held accountable. And there's also kickbacks, all kinds of criminal activity going on. And the Auditor General should listen to what I said when I called him and put a mechanism into place telling the government that you cannot spend taxpayers' money through a charity. You have to be accountable. You have to have contracts with the people that are servicing the wheelchairs, and they and they have to have the qualifications. They have to meet certain standards, and they have to guarantee their work, and they have to be accountable. But none of that exists because there's no accountability to the taxpayers, to the disabled, to anybody. Nova Scotia is nothing but a crime syndicate. This whole place is disgusting. Welcome to Nova Scotia. There are beautiful people here, though, and the scenery is really nice. Come and enjoy it. But be careful, because the government and everybody in the government at every level is a bunch of criminals. Thank you for listening again. Bye. Oh, don't forget, go to wheelchairrights.wordpress.com and go to InfoWars. Right there, look, InfoWars.com. And really find out what this Agenda 21, New World Order, One World Government, what they're doing to Canada and the USA, and why we're having all these problems with the government, because our governments have been taken over. We have no governments anymore. We have criminal corporations. We're in a lot of trouble in this country because all the good people don't really do any good at all. And they've all been socially engineered to be self-centered and selfish and don't have a clue what to think and how to think, and they don't do anything. They don't get involved in anything. They don't talk to their friends, neighbors, don't talk to anybody. We've got a nightmare of a situation. That's the problem being older, is that I know how it used to be, and I know what they've done to our country. And the young people haven't got a clue. They think it's normal that everything's nuts like this. Anyway, I hope you never become disabled in Nova Scotia, because you're going to have to go through the nightmare I'm going through. And believe me, every person that's disabled out there has got horror stories to tell you, because they're all being treated really horribly. But I'm more of a fighter than they are, so I've been a little bit more successful in some things. But it's still, I'm trying to make a change for everyone, for the good of everybody. All this stuff I'm doing and all this website and all my videos, is not about me. It's about trying to change everybody's attitudes and start treating people that are disabled with the same respect that everyone else gets under law. Thank you.